Hello, I'm Eve Cohen, broker, owner, realtor of Living Great Real Estate, and I want to welcome everyone to our weekly Empower Hour. Get the knowledge, use the knowledge, be empowered. This afternoon, we have a very special guest with us. Her name is Anupama Kinatukara, and forgive me if I said that wrong. It's a mouthful. It's a challenging one. It's a beautiful name, and Anupama means unique. And after you meet and greet our special guest today, you will see why she is named Anupama. She's here today to discuss the very interesting and timely topic of distractions, how one thought can lead to another as it expands. And so we want to try as hard as we can to obviously eliminate those distractions during this pandemic time and crazy times that we're all experiencing and living. This is seemingly becoming the new norm, and however you wish to interpret that new norm is entirely up to you. It's your life and it's your direction on how you keep distractions during this new norm out of your life. So without any more delays, I'd like to introduce you all to Anupama. Good afternoon, Anupama. Thank you so much for joining us. Please tell us a little bit about you, who you are and your company name. And forgive me, I did not introduce your company name, but if you'd be so kind as to
I have included that in my presentation, so I will definitely be sharing more about myself. So let me share my screen so it is easier that way, and I will get started.
Great.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Alrighty. So I am really excited to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to be able to talk to you, all of you. And living great, the only way to live. This is what I saw on Evelyne's website, and I think that's a great name to have. And Alan and Evelyne, both of them have really, I got to just know them recently, but I'm already loving what they're doing. I love the fact that they are trying to add value to others, not only to their team, but to people at large. And that's what this is all about. So what we are going to focus on expands, and that's what we are going to cover today. And what we do not focus on is going to shrink. So let me tell you about myself. My name is Anupama. I am a business thought leader, thinking partner who helps people, individuals, companies, and organizations to move from where they are to where they want to go. I am a certified speaker, coach, and trainer with the John Maxwell team. And I recently launched myself as an entrepreneur, and I am in the process of building my business. And here's my contact information as well as my website. So what I'm going to be sharing today is part of a mastermind series. It's a 4-week series that I do host. We are going to be talking about one of those lessons. And tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, actually, we are going to be talking about a different lesson, which I will be sharing with all of you too. We also have, this is part of the 12 lessons that we do. There is a 4-week series and an 8-week series where we further dive into turning adversity into an advantage. So today's topic is battling distractions during a crisis. So let's see what that means. So before we dive into distractions, I want to give a few definitions. So you'll get to learn about what crisis is and distractions during a crisis. So as we get started, so that we don't get distracted, if everybody can also put your phones on mute. I know you are on mute, but we don't want you being distracted, so don't go away doing anything else. So what is a crisis? The dictionary says crisis is an intense time of difficulty. We all got that, right? In the medical field, if you ask what a crisis is, they will say it is a turning point. And when a patient is in crisis, they are at a turning point. They are going to get better or they are going to get worse from there. So if you go to the Greeks, they will say crisis is a time that requires a decision. So John Maxwell, who is my mentor, put this all together, and he defined crisis as an intense time of difficulty requiring a decision that will be a turning point. So our current global situation certainly meets that definition. And I'm sure you all agree with that. Let's define leadership. So in the John Maxwell team, we define leadership as influence, nothing more, nothing less. And that's contrary to what tradition says, because contrary to popular beliefs, we in the Webster's dictionary, we see the leadership as a position, place, office, or title. But we talk about leadership as influence. If you have influence, you are a leader. So for most of the time, majority of the people that I speak to don't believe they are leaders. Maybe some of you don't believe you are leaders, but you are influencing anybody. It could be in your home. It could be in your community. It could be at your workplace. It could be anywhere. If you are an influencer, you are a leader. So I am going to be referring to things that we talk about for you as a leader, because we are all leaders. So when I say leader, don't shut yourself down, because I am speaking to you. So a crisis shows leaders up. Leaders are supposed to show up in a crisis. But what happens is that crisis shows the leader up. So what does that mean? What that means is that in a crisis, right, we want to have somebody to be looking up to. So during a crisis, during a difficult time, I look at crisis and I say, I am born for such a time as this. This is my moment to help add value to people by challenging others to reach their potential and to lead on, because that's what I want to do, because that's what I want to do for you today. So there's a goal in this lesson, a simple goal. I want us together to learn what are the distractions that keep us away from the important things we need to focus on at this time of crisis. This is going to be a lesson on perspective. So I want each of you to be able to say at the end of the session, I was born for such a time as this. Let's look at some facts to get started. So crisis, like all crises, will eventually pass. And the challenge for the leader, which is you, is to stay strong and steady during the crisis, through the duration. And how we view things determines how we do things. So but as a leader, if how I view things determines how I do things, it not only affects me, it affects everyone I influence at home, at work, and in our community. If you don't consider yourself a leader and just a follower, then yeah, how you view things determines how you do things, and it just involves you. But as I said, we are all leaders, so we do impact a lot of people. So let's dive in. So a lot of people have been affected by the coronavirus, and this is a very difficult time. We are in a world crisis, but I don't want to minimize the role each of us play during this crisis. So let me share with you a little bit about myself. I'm a new entrepreneur. I had been working in IT as a project manager till a couple of years ago, and switched to become a business thought leader, leadership coach. My husband is currently in India. He had gone to be with his mom, who had a stroke and was hospitalized. She passed away and a few weeks ago, and he was supposed to be coming back. But he's stuck there because of the international restrictions. So that's a crisis for me. I'm here by myself with my kids. My husband is there. I have no idea when he will be back. My daughter is a senior in high school. She was supposed to be having her graduation this year, but she's not. She's missing so much in life. That's a crisis for her. That's a crisis for me as a mother. But here I am. My younger son, he's moving to high school. He was in 8th grade. Again, he was supposed to have his 8th grade graduation. That's a crisis for him. It's a crisis for me as a mother. So there is a lot going on even in my life. I could be fearful about a lot of things and get distracted, and I have made a conscious choice to stay focused on what I can do in this circumstance. And I will share more later about what I am doing. So crisis is distracting. We use the term distraction, but I want to insert in this teaching the word traction, because traction is the opposite of distraction. Traction means to pull forward or draw forward. It means there is a momentum to move in the right direction. You have gained traction, you are making progress. Distraction is the opposite. It means pull away. So when a crisis comes, it begins to pull us away. It begins to take us off course. It begins to confuse our priorities. It keeps us from making progress. So if traction is the action that draws us towards what we want in life, distraction are the action that pulls us away from the things that we want in our life. You want to get distracted? Just turn on the TV and watch the news. A lot of information that will get us distracted. We need to focus on motivating people and not manipulating people, because manipulating people is when I move you for my advantage. It's wrong for leaders. It's wrong for media. It's wrong for realtors. It's wrong for everyone. But when we put people first, when we have no agenda except for lifting people up, like I'm doing today, serve people, add value to people, it helps us to keep some sort of traction in a time of distraction. So, what do leaders do? Leaders help get traction during distraction. So, what's the result of distraction? The number one is mind wandering. What are we going to do? Our mind begins to wander. We begin to ask questions. What could happen? What is happening? We begin to ask questions that there are no answer to. Number two is negative thinking. Everything is going wrong and it's never going to get better. That's how we sometimes think. Number three is uncertainty, anxiety, where we begin to look around and we begin to be dominated by four big letters: fear. Let me tell you something. Crisis is a perfect storm. It's a perfect storm for distraction, and fear is spreading faster than the virus right now. And just because someone else's sky is falling, it doesn't mean the leader's sky is too. Leaders must discipline themselves to stay focused in times of crisis. Again, let me remind you, when I talk about leaders, I'm talking about you, because leadership is influence and you are an influencer. So I told you earlier about my family situation. What am I doing about it? I'm making lemonade. When given a lemon, make lemonade. I can give you all sorts of distractions and fallout, but what am I going to do? I can't control what's happening. Nothing can give me more anxiety than trying to control something I can't control. And then I watch people every day, I don't know, somehow reach out there with worry, thinking that anxiety and worry will make things better for them. So what am I doing? I'm making new connections. I'm offering many workshops, virtual leadership, communication training. I'm adding value to others and building effective relationships. I'm reading books, attending webinars to learn and grow myself. So crisis causes distraction. Traction, as we said, is to move forward. Distraction is to move away. So here is what we want to do. What you put behind you shrinks. And Dan Ryland, an author, says, if you chase two rabbits, you get none, since it will be running in the opposite direction. So you need to pick a rabbit. So what that essentially means is, don't go for too many things at the same time. Evelyne and I were just talking right before this. She was talking about we all try to multitask. We have so many things going on. But when we try to multitask, especially during this time, so many other things come to our mind. So we really need to stay focused. So what you put behind you shrinks. So let's put behind us what we shouldn't be focusing on. So let's look at what should we put behind us and what should we put before us. So let's look at I have about 9 of them. Let's see how much we can cover in the time that we have. So number one is put behind you what you can't do and put before you what you can do. So what do I mean by that? I'll give you 2 expansion codes. It says what you focus on expands, and life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. So as I was saying, there are many things that we can't do during this crisis, right? So let's put that behind us and put before us what you can do. So for each one of you, it is going to be different. For me, I told you what I am doing right now. For you, just think through what can you do and what you are not able to do, right? Number 2 is put behind you the sale and put before you adding value to people. I know it is easy to say this, but let me say this in a context, right? We all need to earn money. We all need to bring income in. But during this time, what we want to focus on is making sure that we think about what do we really want others to say about us? What does others say about us? So if I ask myself, what do I want others to say about me? That is my ideal, right? I really want everybody to say, I'm a great person. I'm a great connector. I'm a great leadership coach, a lot of things. but what do they say about me? And that depends really on what am I doing right now, right? What they say about me is greatly determined by how you and I take care of our customers. And I can tell you that if you add value to people and put them first, you can close that gap between what you want them to say about you and what they say about you. And Zig Ziglar says, if you give others what they want, you will get what you want. So there's usually a big gap between these two questions, but now is a great time for us to close that gap. So use this time wisely. Let's move on to number 3. Put behind you reactions and put before you reflections. So keep the values in front of us right now. Don't count your losses, count your lessons. So there are 3 zones that John Maxwell talks about in a crisis. The first one is the fear zone. And he says the fear zone is where we really react. For example, right now, when the coronavirus started, everybody was out there in the shops trying to buy a lot of toilet papers. We didn't even know why we needed so many toilet papers, but hey, everybody else was doing it, so we have to do it too. So that was in the fear zone. Next zone that we can go into is the learning zone. The learning zone is where everyone should be making a list of things that you're learning, that you are changing during this crisis. Every day, the list will become a little more clearer and a little more impactful. So what are we upping in our life, right? What are we learning during this time? That's when we are in the learning zone and coming out of the fear zone. The third zone that we talk about is the growth zone. This is where we respond. And I can give answers where I have purpose, I have meaning. It helps me go through different level. Fear zone is focused on the outside, thinking, I'm not sure I can get through this. And let me tell you something, I'm absolutely sure about this crisis. I'm going to be better coming out of this crisis. I am going to be better and I am going to grow on the inside. I want to challenge every one of you. Don't count the days, make the days count. Let's move on to number 4. So Booker T. Washington, he was an advisor to the president. He says, success is not to be measured by the position someone has reached in life, but the obstacles he has overcome while trying to succeed. And it says, put behind you the difficulties and put before you the progress. See, when we are in automatic, we are filled with assumptions. So crisis takes us out of the automatic. So what does automatic mean? Automatic is where we are really not very adaptable. We are filled with assumptions. We make a lot of assumptions, and there is a tendency for us to go downhill. And John Maxwell teaches us that everything worthwhile is uphill. We put a do not disturb sign when we are in automatic. We don't want people to come and move us away from where we are. Well, crisis helps us to adapt. It helps us to go uphill. We will be disturbed and we will be challenged to make progress. So that is why put behind you the difficulties and put before you the progress that you're going to make. The next point, number 5, is put behind you the personal benefits, but put before you the people benefit. So what do we mean by that? See, this is close to the one which I spoke about, putting behind you the sales and adding value to people, but this is a bit different. And here is why it is different. There are 2 reasons a person wants to lead. So why do you want to lead? Is it for rewards or is it for the responsibility? So if you are in it for the perks of leadership, you won't show up in crisis since there are no perks right now. If you are in it for the responsibility for lifting people up, then you will show up and you will lead, right? It is something like this. Minor surgery is on you. Major surgery is on me. If the surgery is on you, it is minor. If the surgery is on me, it is major. If we have that mindset, we won't be able to lead well. So put behind us what we want and put responsibility in front of us. Leaders are more than others see, and they see before others see. And that's what we call as a leadership advantage. So leadership advantage, and if I put you before me, I serve you, and if I put me before me, then I will serve me. So let's put people in front of us and not ourselves in front of us. Now let's move on to the next one. Put behind you your feelings and put before you your values. So we really need to put behind us our feelings, because we won't be feeling right now. But if we know our values, we will be able to take action. Then it is put behind you your future and put before you your today. So yes, we all want to think about how can we accomplish great things in the future, how can we do so many mm, sales, and how can we meet so many people. That's the future. But right now, let's think about today. So put behind you your future and put before you your today. Number 9 is put behind you your complaining and put before you your gratitude. You see, you can't moan and lead at the same time. Who wants to follow a moaner? Hey, Anupama is going to moan again today. Wow, I'm going to be inspired as she moans. You're not going to be saying that. You don't want to be me to be moaning. Instead, if I am grateful, you will want to listen to me. Same holds true for you. People will want to hear you if you are more grateful than moaning. So let me go back to one point which I skipped, if you have noticed. Number 6, put behind you who you were and put before you who you can be at the end of this crisis. Am I going to be better at the end of this crisis? Are you going to be better? John actually has learning lunches and he asked 7 questions. One of the questions that he asked is, what is the most important lesson that you have learned in your life? So the number 6, as I was saying, is put behind you who you were and put before you who you can be. In fact, if I'm having lunch with you and if I ask you what is the most important lesson you have learned, majority of the time it is when you have gone through a crisis, a difficult time, when we are out of the automatic. Wisdom is not from somebody who has a lot of knowledge and reads a lot of books. Wisdom always comes from out of a very dark, crucible times in a person's life. That is when wisdom comes. What I'm saying to you today is very simple. Many of us are going to look back and say, you know, it was during coronavirus, something's really changed in my life. Some values, some priorities. I had a little bit of time to adjust and readjust. That's what I want for you. So what you focus on expands. Put that things that you need to look at before you. Put the things that are going to weigh you down, put them behind you. I focused on adding value to people and I hosted many complimentary disc workshops. I am a certified disc trainer. I did workshops for parents. I did for adults on Saturdays for the past few weeks. And I have one coming up this Saturday too. I got recognized by the John Maxwell team faculty for taking action and adding value to people. And I got spotlighted on a recent call. And this is a post made by the faculty member, who is also a realtor, by the way. And it was great, right? I have joined the John Maxwell team. It's been less than 2 years, but I have, and there are 30,000 members. If they had to pick one member and they picked me, I feel like I'm doing something right, and I'm grateful for that. So I decided to stay focused on what I can do versus what I cannot do. I hosted my first leadership event at Bergen Community College this past October, and we had great speakers like Rachel Hollis, Angela Aarons, Marcus Buckingham, Chris Hogan speaking to us from Atlanta. I hosted a live simulcast here. We had about 50 folks who attended the live event, and then we had rebroadcasts of the event till February of 2020. I had some influential local leaders on my panel for the afternoon panel discussion, and we were even published in the local newspaper, North Jersey Records. What am I doing now? I am planning for my next event, which is on October 9, 2020. We already have a few speakers announced, and I would like all of you to be there and be inspired and grow with me. I want to get about 250 people virtually. It could be a virtual event at this particular location. And the 2 speakers that they have announced, one is Steve Harvey. I'm sure a lot of people know Steve Harvey. And the other one is Kat Cole. She is the president and CEO of North America Focus brand, which includes Cinnabon. I'm also offering for the seniors, the graduates of 2020, we have a special message by my mentor, John Maxwell, and a gift which is a lifetime access to one of his teachings. So that's something that I'm trying to reach people. So if you know of any school administrators, principals who are planning for college graduations or school graduations, then, well, tell them about me. We recently had a mastermind group for how successful people think. Why am I sharing all this with you? Because I want to let you know that there is opportunities there to learn and grow, and to make good use of the time that you have. Because you should never stop learning, right? As leaders, learn continually. And question is, do you have a personal growth plan? I applaud you for being here today, because true leadership development happens over a period of time. It's a process. What are you doing every day to develop as a leader? Events like what we have today can make you aware of what you need to do to develop as a leader, but it can only start the learning. Experts tell us that we should be spending 10% of our income investing in personal development. And do you know how much you have invested in yourself? How do you keep learning and growing? You have to invest in yourself. You have to be a continual learner and create a growth environment like Evelyne is doing for the people that she's leading, and even for others. You can choose a word for the year. My word for this year is intentional. I'm being intentional every day about whom I am adding value to. I want you all to be intentional, and if you need a word to be picked, to be intentional, or for you to stay focused, pick a word. It's not too late. We are just in May. We still have the rest of the year. So this one, as I said, is one of the lessons of the 4 weeks. Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, I am going to be talking about real leadership in crisis. If you are interested, you could let me know. I do offer other coaching services. And I want to just recap and then ask some questions so that we can open it up. I know we are almost at half an hour. So let's do a quick recap, and let me open it up for some questions. As we were learning, leaders can learn to shift for the better even in the midst of crisis. Adaptable leader can turn adversity into advantage. And these are some of the 11 perspective principles about crisis that could help you turn adversity into advantage. If you want to learn and dive deep into this, again, it takes 8 weeks for us to study through that. But leaders get distracted. They lose sight of reality, lose touch with hope, fall prey to anxiety, which in turn infects their people. And we talked about 3 things that distracts us. One is mind wandering. Second is negative thinking. Third is uncertain anxiety. So which one of this is something that is distracting you? You need to think through that, and let's talk about how that applies for you. So let me open it up if you guys have any questions, or I am going to ask you questions if you don't ask me questions.
So I just want to jump in for a second real quick. I love the don't count the days, make the days count. Mm-hmm. And it is really imperative to hold on to that concept during coronavirus. But as you mentioned, crisis turns into either advantage and can become value, or it can become a negative. So obviously you have choices in life. You can take the positive path, or you can take the negative path. And I really love that, everything worthwhile is uphill. And while we are trapped within the confines of our environments right now during COVID, we have the opportunity to look deep inside. And with no distractions, that seems to be what we are all doing. And out of it, I feel myself, I'm going to come out of it much more successful, much happier, much clearer. Maybe a couple pounds I can lose because I've been eating so much, but that's okay. Definitely have found some interesting and new ways to do business. It's definitely a new norm, doing virtual business. And when that will change is anybody's guess. And do I have to sit and wait for that change? Absolutely not. Life goes on, and we must make the most of it in this climate. And everything you're saying is absolutely positive and essential in the way we think, because a thought begets another thought. And if you want a good thought, stay within the confines of that good thought to ignite another good thought, which can only ultimately bring you success. the ultimate goal, the ulterior motive is to bring value to somebody's life. And by bringing value to somebody's life, you will have success.
Right.
It doesn't happen overnight, but if you put the other person first and realize that they do have a need and you just have to kind of find it, you can help them find it, but there will be success no matter the industry. Yes. I know that for real estate, for sure.
Yeah. All right.
So that was my rant.
Is there any questions, or I do have questions where we could open it up. So
yes. Hi, Anupama.
Yes.
Ellen, hi. That was really, really wonderful. Any of our other guests, you're more than welcome to come online now. Have a little bit of a round table so we could speak with Anupama, Enrique, Maya, Ramona, whoever else is with us. I want to say that was really fantastic and really enlightening. It sounds like a lot of things that you would offhand kind of know, but by you putting it out first and highlighting it step by step, it really makes it easier to understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I want to say the thing about staying focused and adding value to others. As a real estate agency, when this hit, obviously has been very hard for us as an agency to continue to keep closing things, properties. So Evelyn and I, the co-owners of the company, we decided to do what you said, add value to others. So what we do, instead of pontificating how many, properties and this and that, we went online with these type of seminars. And what we're trying to do is really build the know or knowledge, like and trust factor, so that our clients or the rest of out there are now believing us as experts in the field, and of course Evelyn as the broker as an expert in her field. So bring value and webinars like this so that people know we're not just, you mentioned that earlier about hustling and just the sale, but really giving them value.
Yeah.
Can I jump in on that point?
Yeah, and how it relates to real estate, if you could turn it into that, would be terrific.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say, because, definitely real estate is an industry that people need to know, like, and trust you first. So, with that, you have to just kind of put the sale secondary to them getting up close and personal with you. And then if you can answer that a little bit, Anupama, on your own, then we do have another question from one of our attendees I'd like to ask you. So please go ahead.
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Yes. The question was how we related to real estate. We try to, at least my philosophy is to try to put the value first, that I'm here to help you. Anything you need, I can probably answer, or at least I'm going to try. Give me that opportunity to allow you to see that I want you to know me, trust me, and like me first.
Right.
So I agree with what you're saying, that you've got to find the value in the equation before you go for the hustle and the sale.
Yeah.
And then we do have another question by one of our attendees, and I'd like to ask that if you want to respond to my first question. No,
I completely agree with you that what I basically shared is something that applies to any industry, and real estate comes in there, that you do need to put your people first. And as soon as you do that, everything else will fall in place.
I agree. Yes. We have Elaine Rivers is asking, what if you do several things really well? How do you focus on one thing? Can you talk about the process of prioritizing and how to stay on that concept of a thought expands another thought and it begets another thought? We understand it at its very core principle, but can you expand on that for Anita, please? Thank you.
Yeah. So we do have a lot of things which are important to us right now, right? my kids' education is important, their graduation is important, my business is important. There is a lot of things that is important. So we need to focus on, we have to break it down into something that we can focus on, say, instead of looking at it at the end of this month, here is where I want to take things, versus at the end of this week, what can I really focus on? What is priority for this week for me? Is it really important for me to focus on how am I going to have my daughter have a good experience with her graduation ceremony? Or am I going to focus on how am I going to be able to add value to people during this time? Right? So every week, if I look at what is priority for this particular week, so for this week, my priority has been to reach out to people to be able to help with this graduation message that is critical for all the seniors to hear, right? So that is something that I've been trying to focus on for this week because I put that as a priority. But that doesn't mean that I'm not working on other things. So we really need to know what our values are, what do we need to focus on for our short term, so that then we can move on to the next thing on our plate.
Great. Okay. Hopefully that answered the question. Is there anybody else right now at this moment, as we open it up for questions, just raise your hand and I'll address you individually, that would like to ask a question of Anupama on this very interesting topic?
I have some comments.
Yes, go ahead,
Okay.
Enrique.
Go ahead, Enrique.
You mentioned something that to me is very curious. You said, it's very important for, college and all that. I have a bunch of friends. That, I was a very good student. I came to the U.S., on an academic scholarship and, went through school, got very good grades, et cetera, et cetera. But I have a whole bunch of very good friends. Some were good students, some were not. What I've noticed is that there's a huge pattern, for example, where people try to force the situation. Like, I'm going to give my child the best education they can get. I want them to be a lawyer, a doctor, financier, something. You send the kid to school, you spend $60,000 or more every year. And at the end of the 4 years, that's not what they want to do. Not even close.
Right.
Like, I told one of my friends just recently, you would have been better off taking the $240,000, which is more like $300,000, putting it in the bank for them and letting them go to work to McDonald's. Today, your kid would have started life with $300,000 in 4 years of a McDonald's salary and would have been much better off than where they are right now. And I kind of find that same situation with COVID. We can't control COVID. We can't control what's going on. We can control ourselves. And we can lead. So I've taken the philosophy that, everybody's going to mature from this COVID at their own pace. What we can do in the meantime is make sure that we can recognize who, we can't take the situation that we have right now and go back to how it was 3 months ago. That doesn't work. That's not gonna work no matter what you do. But you can find that all of a sudden, the internet, everybody has become so much more savvy with Zoom. You could actually meet, I think, I've never done it yet, but you could actually meet with a client on Zoom.
Yeah.
And show them some of the things that you're looking at. Like you could literally show them the MLS, which you couldn't do before, because if you give them the MLS and they go look at the address and stuff, then you're giving away your business. But now you can actually meet with a client on Zoom and say, listen, I have selected, and you can limit your searches, and you can say these are the 5 properties that this client needs to see. You can put them on Zoom and say, hey, let's go out let's go out and look at houses. Oh, I can't go. No. Just, turn your laptop on. I'm going to take you. And we can look at 5 houses on Zoom. All of a sudden, instead of going around for 3 hours or a whole morning, you can be at home for an hour and you can walk your client through stuff and you're going like, wow, this is a very different way of working. So there's some things that I think you can really do to change the whole atmosphere. And yes, people do need to get out at some point. But I'm finding that some of the things that we're doing are really going to, and if you've got a client who's an environmentalist, the ideal situation is, ride a bicycle.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is a time to pivot, and I'm glad to hear that you are already doing that, and you are seeing the advantage of the time of crisis, right? You are really taking advantage and pivoting and doing what you can do. And even for me, I did most of my workshops in person. Now that I'm doing virtually, I'm reaching people across the world. I had people from Kenya who joined my workshops. I would not even have thought about it if I hadn't gone virtual. So
Yes.
it is amazing to see that we really can reach more than we are. And Evelyn, I just had one more slide I wanted to show, if you
Sure.
don't mind.
Nope.
And then
We're good on time.
Okay.
Get close, but go ahead.
Yeah. So there were some questions, but I'm going to share the questions in an email if anybody is interested. But I wanted to put this one up here because I picked it up from your website, and I think this is a great picture of both of you. And I wanted to thank you for allowing me to be here, and I wanted to thank Alan for first having me on the Business Spotlight, which got me here. So thank you for all that you do. And I am excited that you let me add value to others. And I'm looking forward to collaborating further. This is me with my faculty members. They are my mentors. They are all multimillionaires. Someday I will be there. But I just wanted to say thank you. And I wanted to share that particular slide with you.
Good stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll all look forward to reaching out to you independently, because we can all use to add value to each other. We can all use to eliminate the distractions and grow positive thoughts from good thoughts as an expansion concept. And we can all use cheerful, more beautiful people in our lives like Anupama. A smile as big as hers is like the sun shining on us every single day. And while it's dark and grim and gloomy, at least in the environment right now, we have positive people in the world to help us shine. However, I want to caution you, Anupama, and anyone else that may be listening. Be careful when you're sharing information on these conferences, because there's a lot of hacking going on. And as a broker, I have to advise my agents to be careful with what they say and where they go, what webinars they jump in on and what information they divulge or disclose. What you're disclosing, of course, is a generic concept and philosophy for anybody to be able to address. It's very positive. There's never any danger in that. But when you come to what we're doing as real estate people, we have to be cautious where we go and who we are saying things to, as well as, and I'm saying this to you, Anupama, the interfaces that we choose or don't choose to use, because I'm finding that, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but such a platform as Zoom, believe it or not, is subject to a lot of hacking these days from other foreign territories. And I have been privy to that bit of information from a reliable source. And in fact, it almost happened to me, where I saw that Zoom in and of itself asked me, and correct me if I'm naive or wrong, asked me if it can record this screen. And it wasn't prompted by anything I did or my partner did. It just sort of impromptu came out when I wasn't even using the application. So again, I could be naive in my scope of technology, but it was pretty frightening. And then when I heard somebody actually say that other piece of information to me, I thought, whoops, we've got to be careful.
Yeah, you're right. And there's a lot of Zoom bombing going on, and they're getting better, but yes, very, very
Well, we have other applications. You've got Facebook, you've got Messenger, you've got tons of local applications that are very conscious about, the hacking and keeping it here in America might not be the end all. But personally, after this happened, I think I'll keep it in America, feeling a little vulnerable, by putting everything out there.
Yeah. All righty.
I'd just like to say, just to sign off, Anupama, it was really terrific having you, and everything that you say does, obviously, because we're a real estate company, does relate to us as realtors. And Rika, you had a great comment about being able to do tours, house tours,
Virtually.
from home. So we are adapting, and as leaders in this industry, I think we do have to lead the way and adapt quickly to what we're doing. So really terrific. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I'll let Evelyne sign off.
Yeah. So again, just obviously, thank you. I can't thank you enough. It's been a very valuable webinar. I'm sorry we didn't have more attendees, but I think, as I mentioned earlier to you, people are getting their stimulation overload. Everybody wants to grab a little bit of you, get your ear, get you in front of them. We're all looking for that same acknowledgement and recognition right now while we're in the confines during quarantine times. But it's very, very good information, positive, it's uplifting, it's inspiring at best. And I think that more people need to hear it again and again and again, and until we can get through this and just take full advantage of positive people like you, Anupama, helping to inspire and add value to our everyday lives.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for your time.
All right.
Al, are we okay to jump off?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So again, I'm Evelyne Cohen. I'm the broker owner of Living Great Real Estate. You have just been listening to our weekly segment of Empower Hour. Get the information, get the knowledge, be empowered. Stay tuned for more. We will have another Empower Hour next week. We hope you'll all join us and tell your friends about it. And please stay safe, stay positive, stay empowered. God bless everyone. Goodbye. Thank you for joining.
Bye.